And the issue, the term that I keep coming back to, that I understand from reading the minutes of the policy committee spent a fair amount of time talking about, as well as this concept of a material financial interest, or as the judge just referred to, a significant financial interest. And you know, the concern that I have is that what's material to one person may not be material to someone else. And even if folks might agree on what a material financial interest is, at least in theory, the definition of whether it applies in a particular case may change depending on the context in which it arises. I think the easy one is if I own shares of Apple stock. I own 50 shares of Apple stock, and something comes before the board and we're voting on purchasing 50 computers, which is a significant transaction for the college. Let's say 100 computers. That's a significant transaction for the college. It's not going to make any material difference in my life as someone who owns that stock. Is that a material financial interest? I think most people would agree that it's not. I think once you get into sort of those gray areas, it gets a little more difficult. You know, I own or I represent, and I use my own practice as an example. If I represent a company that's doing some business with someone who then wants to enter into a contract with the college, but it's such a tiny portion of my business. Is it a material financial interest if it's less than 1%, if it's less than 10%, and somewhere, maybe Kate, you can help me out. Somewhere I think in the conflict of interest statutes is 10%, I believe.
I think it's actually spelled out in case law more so than in the statute.
I looked at the statute, somewhere in, I think in the statute it says 10%. So I think this is a terrific start, and I definitely hear Dr. Mazur's recommendation that we adopt it, and I think that I think this is a good conversation to have. I'm just wondering if maybe we want to pose this as a first reading tonight and solicit the input of other folks who haven't seen this yet. You know, I'd be interested, the faculty, to their credit, offered back in July to help. You know, and there's a lot of folks on our faculty who I think deal with ethical issues on a regular basis. I'd be interested to hear their input. Frankly, I'd be interested to have the students take a look at this as well, because the folks who this most directly influences is the faculty and the students.
The good people did good things for this place, and I miss them, in all honesty. Does your policy say when someone, like Mr. Perez says, I abstain, that they have to note at that point the reason for abstaining?
Not unless it's a conflict of interest.
That is the only...
That's why we're distinguishing between abstaining and recusing.
Yeah, I mean, I will get a copy of it and
yes.
read it more diligently than obviously listening. And
it'll be on the web tomorrow.
Oh, goody. Thank you. Now I have to use mine. No, it's okay. I wonder why that's not something that's required. I know it is in some circles where you say, I wasn't available for that meeting. That's my reason for abstention.
It may be advisable, but it's not required either under Robert's rules or under our law.
I understand that, but it's something I just thought to throw out.
And we didn't include it in the policy.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have to say I'm glad the president of the board is gone. I was hoping you would retire. I was hoping Dr. Mazur would retire. And Mr. Leopard, I think, should have to retire. And I think it should be looked into by the authorities. The other thing is the Sabre report here. He did a very eloquent job obviating the responsibilities of the board, who were asleep when all this was happening. And now the public will be paying thousands and thousands of dollars for all that advice that he was giving to cover up for you people. But anyhow, you did it. The other thing is, you read out very impressively what a few students said about the college. I think we should be facing reality and realize that there are so many students from the county that are going to the next county, to their community college. So I think instead of saying how great things are, I think we should realize that there's a bit of a mess that's been going on here for quite a while. With that, the thing about the CP engineers, I wish that was forgotten forever. I think there was a total mess made. I think it's costing the public an awful lot of money, and I think a lot of you should have been ashamed of yourselves. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Dunleavy.
As a student, one thing I wanted to mention, a couple years ago I had an awesome opportunity to do a very fun activity. It was a learning experience. It was at the Morris County Prosecutor's Office. It was a career development. What they do is they actually offer their resources and their building to many, many colleges, 10 plus different colleges. If you walk up in the building, you probably see Cooney and McGovern talking a lot about it. It is meant for the criminal justice students, but all are always welcome. When we're done with that career development course, we actually hear from a lot of other colleges how awesome our two professors are. Why students go to other colleges? This is the point I'm glad you brought up. They don't realize what they can get here. I didn't realize it at first. You figure, I went to Vernon. Actually, I went to Sussex Tech. I live in Vernon. I don't want to go to the same college all my friends are going to. I want to get rid of the high school atmosphere. If I go to the same college all my high school friends are going to, it's going to be all high school all over again. I actually, one of the reasons why I'm an alumni, love this college.